Welcome to the ABQ Accent, where catalysts, innovators, and risk takers share what their accent is on their work. Like a spoken accent, we all have an inflection or emphasis on where we put our energy. Join us to learn how these folks are putting their accents to work, building their vision of the future, and how you can get involved. Well, I think we can get started on one of the most unique experiences I've ever had as a host with this podcast. Thank you so much for your time today. I'll get into some intros. And then I also want to say that for the people watching on YouTube or listening right now, as a heads up, we are here in front of a live audience, or as they might have said in Three's Company, it's a live studio audience. Love it. Thank you for coming. So we will be interacting maybe more than we might just with each other. We'll be interacting with the larger room as we do our discussion today. And I will give some intros and some questions, and we'll go from there, right? So as a reminder, everybody, thank you so much for being here. I am Mariah Harrison, and this is the ABQ Accent Podcast. I have with me three special guests today. We're doing a panel on site at our volunteer fest here at the Albuquerque Museum. The Office of Civic Engagement put together a very special event today that you guys are all tabling at to connect you with volunteers, to connect you with other community organizers or volunteer coordinators. Thank you for doing that too. So essentially, they're working, while they're communicating, while they're connecting, and all kind of overlaps, and the podcast is a piece of the puzzle today. So, like I said, I have a couple of unique questions, but I'm going to start with some bios, and then we'll just roll into it. All right. So first, I've got Valerie Greif. She's with Animal Welfare here in the city. I also want to say her formal title is Community Engagement Coordinator, but her subtitle, and I think not so much a title, but a message, is Spread Love Like Dog Hair. I think we all really identify with that, right? And cat hair too. And that says a lot about your connection to animals and the value of your work itself. So Valerie graduated from NMSU with a bachelor's in wildlife science in 2010. She started working at Animal Welfare in 2011 as an animal handler and moved to community engagement team in 2022, yes, right? And is now the volunteer lead with their civic engagement team and assists with the foster division and community partnerships. Volunteer. Great. Thank you for being here.
Thank you.
Drora Shub. She is the manager of volunteer engagement at Explora Science Center and Children's Museum. We're all familiar with Explora. Drora, I think you and I met a number of years ago when you were training for the Center for Nonprofit Excellence.
Yes,
I think,
yeah,
right? Yeah. I've been a fan of yours for a while.
Yeah, that's likewise. Likewise, I think you were at UNM at the time.
I was.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. Back in the day. So Drora has been at Explora since 2009. So she has a very deep understanding of that particular agency and those particular volunteers in their community. Prior to that, she was director of volunteer engagement at Children Help USA. And through Explora, she's been able to build a program that's really unique to their needs and to her professional programs. She's an advocate for volunteerism and the nonprofit sector as a whole. And she's been a trainer for the Center for Nonprofit Excellence. And she's participating in a number of professional groups that support the development of community engagement and volunteer coordinators. Thank you, Drora.
I'll turn back here. Nice. I appreciate it. And thanks for being here.
You bet. Yeah. Moving on to Chaplain Ryan Wooley, who I met at UNM when we were there. I think we started out as students. Yeah. Maybe we were staff. But your spirit has stuck with me, and I think for the fact that you being here today is a reflection of that connection that I don't need to get too woo-woo about it. But Ryan came to our volunteer fest in the spring, and now he's on our volunteer advisory board. And so I think that you bring a lot to not just the board, but to our sessions today. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Yeah. So officially, Ryan is the Director of Spiritual Care and Volunteer Service at Lovelace Medical Center. He oversees volunteers across multiple hospitals and leads initiatives that connect compassion, purpose, and patient care throughout the community. He's previously supervised chaplains at UC Health in Colorado and has been active in volunteer leadership throughout Albuquerque and UNM, and is a member of, as I said, our volunteer advisory board. His approach to service emphasizes belonging and human connection, helping people to discover meaning in both giving and receiving care. It's beautiful. Thank you.
Yeah. Happy
Yeah.
to be here today.
Awesome. So did I choose them right or what? Right? Yeah. So I'm going to start with you, Valerie. That bio is not enough. I want to know more. Please tell me how you got to the work today.
So, like you said, I started out in animal welfare in 2011, just as an animal handler. I moved up to be a senior animal handler. And then sometime around 2021, 22, I kind of hit a slump. I hit a point within myself where I didn't feel like I was making enough of a difference. Like I needed to do something different, but I didn't want to stop doing the work with the animals that I was doing. So the potential opened up for a position with the community engagement team. And I applied for it. I've been doing that since 2022, and I really enjoy it. I enjoy it not only because I get to be with the animals, but because I get to be with people who love animals. That's what our common ground is between myself and other people in the community, is those pets and taking care of the pets. And this is where I've been able to kind of put my best foot forward and continue being with the animals, but also try to gain more help for the pets. More volunteers to come in, to walk a dog, to pet a cat, to do what they can to help these pets while they wait for their forever homes.
So many levels of support that
Yes, absolutely.
Drora, how are you?
Okay. So it is funny when you say how long I've been at Explora, because it doesn't seem that way. And I never had a job for that long. So no one's more surprised than me. And but it's turned out to be a very good place for me and to be able to be part of a bigger thing than what I do. So one of the questions was, how'd you get into volunteer like that? Okay. So mine's a little bit convoluted because in previous life, I was in hotel catering and off-premise catering and things like that. And I ended up working, this is really a silly story, but Merv Griffin bought the DoubleTree downtown at one point, really short. I was already working there. And so then I left and went with Griffin Hotels, and we opened a dude ranch in Arizona. Okay, I know. Stay with me. And then a few years later, he donated the entire ranch to an organization called Child Help USA, which is a really wonderful organization. And I sort of came with. He said, they asked if I wanted to be part of it, and I did, because a lot of the work, people say going from profit to nonprofit is so different. And I didn't find that to be true. Much of the work in hotels is community-based, even though it's a different focus. I get it, but it wasn't that big of a shock to me. So to me, it was a wonderful opportunity to do something that I always wanted to do. And so, the joke was, that I came with the property, but it was a very neat experience. And I was much more interested in that, even though I'd had a background. So it was a good opportunity, and it was a really incredible place. And then I moved to New Mexico and was seeking out another job. And I'd had another job as well in a nonprofit and with volunteers. And so I've sort of found a place that works for me. And Explora has allowed me to be able to do it in the way that I think works best for our community and for people, And so that's what attracts me about this type of work, is that it's a way to connect people and community and be able to help one another and be part of a community. And volunteering is a great way to do that. That's for everybody. That's the big thing about it. It's for everybody. Anybody can do it. And we should have people that are everybody. So anyway, long, short, around, I'm here because of Merv Griffin.
What a legacy. Yeah, absolutely. I'm going to give it my best shot. I'll actually hop on board with another person's story. I think someone always cares for us and shows us how to care for others. Someone early in my life, when I was in high school living in Oklahoma at the time, was an older man named Richard. He ran a small nonprofit warehouse that he scraped out and built a skate park. And I was never a skater kid in high school, but I had a little bit of time in my afternoons. And so I went and volunteered with him. He said, can you use a blender and pull a shot out of a coffee? Yeah, sure. I'll figure it out. I'm 14, whatever. And so he had an after school program for kids to be picked up at their elementary or middle school, bussed in, and we just had a safe place for them in this small, kind of poor Oklahoma City town to be safe while their parents had to finish up their day, come pick them up. They skated. I gave them sugar-heavy drinks, and then we gave them back to their parents, which I'm sure they appreciated. But that was my first experience with volunteerism. For me, it was a safe space for me to land as well in high school. Later on in college at UNM, go Lobos, I found that I was able to help other people feel like they were safe and mattered through other organizations like Community Spirits and Student Special Events, where each person had a story as to why they wanted to connect to others, have a sense of belonging. Each one of them had something that mattered to them. So in hearing the students' stories, then going in throughout the city, trying to find other partnerships to connect them to so that they could volunteer, amplify whatever they were passionate about in our community, whether that was on campus or off. That really led me into a career of trying to hone in on that human spirit. What's the thing that lights us all up? What's the thing that each person is passionate about? Whether that's whatever that value is. I'm really curious about that, and that's the thing that gets me excited, that story. That took me into chaplaincy. I define spiritual care as caring for the human spirit, however it seeks to be cared for. So that's unique to each person and something that can elevate their autonomy within their story. It's unique to them. Through my journey through various hospitals and hospice systems, those stories have been the most valuable place. And at Lovelace, we combine under the same department, spiritual care and volunteer services. It's pretty unique in that sense, but what it allows me to do is in recruiting and in walking alongside volunteers and professional chaplains, I hear a lot of stories. I get to hear people where they are in their story and then find out what it is that they would like as we walk alongside someone and getting to their next step in their story. And empowering them into that is a lot of fun.
Awesome. Thank you. We'll start with our first question with Drora.
Helpful.
So following up on the stories, I brought with us today a couple artifacts, if you will, from the fest in the room just down the hall. A lucky gnome from United Voices for Newcomer Rights, and Visit ABQ has stickers and mints and chopsticks. And like you, every one of them is finding a way to connect to new people today. And this fest is one tool that they can use to do some recruitment and make connections. So I'd like to talk a little bit more about what you do. What are your favorite strategies to find new volunteers? Maybe recognize them and retain them. Is there a trajectory story that works well for you at Explora?
I would say I'm okay with people staying as long as they're supposed to, so to speak. I'm not really big on, I've been here 30 years, and therefore it's a success. I don't actually, it doesn't make sense to me. So if somebody comes and they're there for a semester with a program or doing something like that, and they get something out of it, to me, that's a big success. I'm not looking for only longevity. So I really want a story. Okay, a story. A story that is great to me that I always think about is there was a kid who was part of an internship program at Explora, and a great kid, kind of a kid with a lot of personality, even as a young kid. And then he stayed, and he had ups and downs. He was a kid with lots of issues, and he was not particularly a volunteer at first, but then he became one. And then he also he had a baby very young, all this kind of stuff. But now my favorite story about him is he comes to Explora, and he's not even that old now, but he comes to Explora with his 3 kids because he's so proud of what he did there. And the experience that he had with it. And it wasn't even anything that, it was a regular experience, but that is a huge success to me. Beyond that, we also have people that started as volunteers and now are nuclear scientists. That's a great story too, but that's not the only story. And to me, in terms of really, it was such an important part of his life that now he's a father of young kids and he can go and say, oh, wait, I'm going to show you how to do this. He shows his kids what to do. That's a great story to me. And so to me, I look for a connection for volunteers and whatever it is. And sometimes they're only with us briefly. That's okay. I mean, for a certain thing, if we need them and they need to be there for that time, that's a great thing to me. And there are people, there's a person here who's here today who's been with us for years and is wonderful. And that's another thing. But I don't rate them. I don't know how else to say it. But if it's a good experience and they go from it and they take something and then they remember it, I have many volunteers who start young, and some of them are like, oh, I can't talk to people. Like if they're working on the exhibit floor, and I'll go, yeah, you will. You'll be fine. And they get training. And like in a month, they're showing everybody. I mean, it happens more quickly, even very reserved people, it happens. So that's kind of a cool thing, because I'll say to them, you understand that there's going to be adults asking you where the bathroom is or whatever. So they pony up, so to speak, or whatever the expression is. But that's not the right one, is it? But yeah, but they do. And so what I'm saying is I love seeing that. I love seeing it in people wherever they are, that they find a place and find a way to be part of us and help us do what we do. So did that answer the question?
Yeah, I love
Okay, good.
Success stories where it's at, where the rubber meets the road. How about you? You can success story or strategies or tools, your favorite things.
So one of my favorite things actually just happened recently, where we at Animal Welfare just held a foster volunteer fair. Some of the other civic engagement people were there from downtown. They helped us out a lot. We had, it was basically like an open house at the East Animal Shelter. We had different stations where the volunteers that are already working with animal welfare were representing the different opportunities that you can volunteer with at animal welfare, which people don't realize that there's quite a bit. It's not just cats and dogs. We need help in our clinic. We need help with our exotic animals when we have them. We have a lot of opportunities, and I wanted our volunteers that were already working with those opportunities to represent them. And I felt, to me, that felt like I was also kind of highlighting them, I guess I should say, kind of being like I emailed them directly and said, I would like you to represent what you are doing the most with in animal welfare. And that was the most excited I have ever seen the volunteers at an event, was at that open house, representing to new potential fosters and volunteers what they can do to help the pets in our community. But it was also important for that aspect because working with animal welfare as a volunteer is hard. It is definitely hard. It's heart-wrenching to be there. And so it was important to me to have the volunteers to tell new prospective volunteers about that, about what it takes to be a volunteer or a foster, because I'm paid to do that. I want the other volunteers to tell you what it means to them to be there with the other animals, with the other people that are there, making connections with each other over the common ground, which is animal welfare.
It's beautiful. Thank you.
And it's empowering. I mean, what you just said is empowering, not to use the catchphrase of the day, but if you're having someone represent you, it's empowering, and it really makes them invested in what you do. So that's a great thing. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Right.
I think all of us would agree that people matter. All people matter. Everybody is capable. Every individual has something of themselves to share that is special. And so a lot of my retention for my volunteers comes from knowing them well enough to be able to reflect back the thing in them that they think is special about them, And then try to also amplify that across our organization, share those stories outside, like you said, and of course they can share their own stories. The story that comes to mind for me is an incredible volunteer who came to me, and when I asked, what's the thing that lights you up? What's the thing that you find is special about yourself? They said, I don't have anything. I don't know. What can I do? And I said, I've got a need. I need a little help. And we have a emergency room closet that is run by our volunteers, where staff members mostly will bring old, lightly used clothes or new clothes and donate it. And then our volunteers take them home and wash it, bring it back, fold it, sort it by size, put it in a bag, and then keep it in this closet, easily accessible to the emergency room for our patients who come through and maybe their clothes are barely held together. Our volunteers provide this service. And so for this one volunteer, I said, what would be really helpful is you can help us clothe people who don't have clothes. So you go, how can I do that? And so this person comes in once a month and takes the washed clothes and folds them and puts them in a bag. And I've had him do this for 5 months. And then we went down and we got to meet people in the emergency room who received his clothes. And for him to not know his worth or value and then to experience that, I think all of us are in positions to reflect back the power of one person to make a difference in the life of the community. And that's something that for him, now he has belonging, but now he also has self-worth and empowerment and autonomy. Such a gift and something that will resonate in all of our organizations.
I got caught listening. Did you have something to add?
Oh, no,
Please. Because I was thinking about transitioning to something about your point about how you try to make sure that people have a sense of belonging, and you just told that whole story about how you want to reflect what these people are really capable of, even if they don't recognize it right away. And it builds trust, and it builds longevity, and it builds cheerleaders and belonging. Gosh, okay, it's hard to transition out of that. And maybe we don't want to go out of that. We want to go a little bit deeper. Something I saw in an article recently, and I'll bring it up in a moment. I have to read it to get it right. Volunteer coordinators are stewards of people's time, their talent, and their connections. Whether you know it or not, that's what we're stewarding, people's time. Something that is a non-renewable, and one of the most important things that we can offer is our time as a volunteer. And yet sometimes volunteer coordinators and volunteers are underappreciated in the system of wherever they might be. An institution, an organization, an event. And I feel like with your experience and professional perspectives, you're capable of uplifting not only your volunteers, but the idea of volunteerism in unique ways. And so I wonder if you could take that idea of how do we uplift the power of volunteerism and how it impacts our communities, and what you're doing maybe tangibly, maybe thinking about how you're evolving your programs to do that and continuing the support for your volunteers so that they can continue feeling supported and that sense of belonging. So it's a bit of an upward spiral out of our organizations into our communities. Let's start with you, Drora, again. The professional, and hearkening back to my point about you participating in professional development agencies and having a long history of the work itself.
Okay, so first I'll touch on your first topic, which is it seems like an ongoing striving within people who manage volunteers that it's not as respected a position as that it is. Like development people are very well respected. They bring in the money, and so on, so on, so. But often you have found that it's not true. And it's kind of it's a tired story, really, a little bit. It's a little bit of a tired story. It doesn't make it any less true. It is still quite true that everybody else is often paid more, and it often has an executive position in places. So that's something that in the profession, I think we're always striving to give it more recognition in that way. And so more people will be interested in things like that. It's often looked at as a beginning position, and it's not. It's not in bigger organizations. So anyway, to address that, yes, it's still an issue, and it'll probably be an issue in 15 more years, and we'll just keep chipping away at it. As far as volunteerism, and what I like about being an advocate for volunteering in your community, and sometimes people come to me to volunteer at Explora, and I think, yeah, we're really not the place for you. I mean, we're happy to have you if you want to be, but maybe you'd like to go to Animal Humane, or something, whatever it may not be the best fit for them. Or sometimes I get people who have a very different way of doing things than, Explora is really kind of has their thing going on. And so some people want to just teach, and we're a little different way that we go about it. And so I might send them somewhere else. So all I want people to do is to volunteer. If you volunteer with us, great, we love you. But I would be much more interested in your finding a place that works really well for you. And so I will always advocate for that, and I will pass them to people all over. I'll tell them how to get there. I'll do all of that. To make it a bigger topic than what you're saying is, a volunteer isn't a nicety. It's something that we do in our community to be able to sustain a community. And if there is no volunteering, there's nothing to fall back on in our society. We need people that will help people, and that's part of you building a society. And so whether or not you, it's not something that, it's I don't know that it ever was, but people always talk about people folding envelopes and putting stuff in, and now we don't do that, so there's no job. That's not the point. Everything that happens all around, whether it's an earthquake, whether it's animals, whether it's people, needing food, whatever it is, or people that need to sing, whatever it is, it's part of building a civilization and a society. And that's what volunteers do, because people who are doing it are interested in it. And that will always be the safety net for people. And so that's why it's a force in our lives. And so that's kind of a bigger out there concept, but that's why I believe it, because it's true. You can go through the ages, and that's what we need. So we need volunteers because we need people, because we live together, and here we are.
Thank you. Either one of you. How are you feeling?
I don't think I can follow that up.
That's okay.
That was good?
Yeah.
Okay.
That was real good.
That was good. But anyway.
Well, yeah, go ahead.
Can I attempt to answer a different part of your question? Which was, you said, how do we talk to our organizations about the value of volunteers? I think for a long time, we've, at least in my short time in volunteering, I've heard kind of a back and forth pro-con metrics argument. For me, I'm finding that obviously the more stories we can tell, the better, but using metrics and quantitative data has been a big asset in the hospital system for me, because as a supplement for the larger story that we're telling. Partner with 2 different dog therapy organizations in town, and there's not a staff member as the dogs are coming through the hallway that doesn't pause, no pun intended, well, puns intended, there's, and just take a break, and their world stops. But then our C-suite hears about that all week every time that they come through. And then I supplement that with the number that our 2 people coming through with their 2 dogs have had an individual interaction with, just on Thursday, 156 people, patients, families, and staff. One of the metrics that we have in the hospital for how the quality of the hospital is called an HCAP score. I won't butcher the entire acronym, but it is, what is the patient experience? And as I have a correlation between the number of volunteers, the number of hours that they've volunteered, the different places that they've volunteered, and the number of people that they have a touch point with, alongside what that score is and how well we are perceived by our patients and their families. And so the metrics are really working for me, even in just the short year that I've been here, because our scores are going up as our volunteer numbers are going up. Their volunteers' sole purpose is to care, to come in and care for the staff members, coming around with a tea cart, coming around and knowing their names, to care for the patients. And that serves the organization in a way that the numbers are actually really working in our favor.
Valerie, you're going to start with this one. Okay. It's really our last one because we need to wrap up. And I want to give you the floor again. We've covered a bit of a range today in volunteerism and why we do what we do and why we love what we do, why we love the people that come to us to volunteer. And as this is a panel on volunteer connections, civic connections, what is top of mind right now on what you need or how you would like to connect to people moving out of today, this weekend, with your agencies? And if you could keep it short, we have about 2 minutes. Valerie.
So I would say like one of our biggest needs. Of course, with animal welfare, our biggest need is people to come in and give whatever time they can. I know sometimes people think that they're like, oh, I can't volunteer. I don't have any time. Do you have a minute? Do you have 1 minute that you can come in on after you get off work, on your weekend, whatever it is, whatever time you can give, I'll take it. I will absolutely take whatever time you can give to those pets in whatever way you feel you can give it to them, even if that's not exactly being with them. I know being with the animals is difficult. I actually, so my mother, she loves animals so much, but it's so heart-wrenching for her to volunteer at the shelter. She can't be there. She cannot see the animals. However, there's other ways that she can volunteer. She helps us when we do spay-neuter blitzes. That she helps us when we have off-site events that we only have a couple animals at. We have other opportunities for people that we need enrichment to be made. You can do it at home. You can do things at home, and then you can bring them to us at the shelter. And that is just so big. Whatever you can give, whatever amount of time you can give. That's what is essential to volunteering.
And those opportunities can be found on oneabqvolunteers.com. Drora.
I'll just add to that we're happy to have you obviously at Explora too, but we really want to be a resource for everyone. So for us, being a volunteer there helps us spread the word and have more people enjoy, explore, and use the resources. There's lots there for everybody here, and so that's what we wanted to. That's what I would like people to be part of. To be part of helping us to do what we do.
There's a new teen center, and there's also adult nights.
Yeah, I should say that. We have really quickly, in case you haven't heard, there's X Studio. Sorry, there's X Studio, which is a brand new teen center, free for all teens. Free for all teens, and there's an unbelievable makerspace in there. And also, we have a full child care facility that is being built and will also be free for our community. Yep. Early childhood preset called Briante. Thank you.
Incredible. I think the thing I'll land the plane on is that all of us are looking for belonging and community. I don't know anywhere I've ever lived that does that better than the city of Albuquerque. Right? Come on. So however you choose to volunteer, wherever you do that, know that all of the people in the city are wanting to welcome you in, plug you in, get you connected to the spirit of the city, which is that everybody matters here. Everybody belongs. There's a place for you. Come, get plugged in, whether that's at Lovelace or anywhere else. We're all here to do this together, and that's the magic of this place, right?
That's right. Thank you so much, Ryan. That's a way to land any plane. I'm about to get on that plane. Thank you so much. And I would encourage anybody listening or watching to reach out to you guys directly. Sure. If you have questions about the work or your agencies, right? We wanted to have this panel as a representation of a couple of things happening around town. We've got a volunteer advisory board member who's also a coordinator for a local hospital system. Drora represents the nonprofit sector one of many volunteer coordinators out in the world, and a city department that is working very hard to connect to individuals and groups of people that want to work in that particular field. So for me, it's been really wonderful to listen to you and for you to meet each other also, and for our audience to spend this unique time with us. This is our second on-site podcast, and thank you so much to the ABQ media crew who supported this effort, and the Albuquerque Museum. So I'll just end there very simply. Thank you so much for being a part of our engagement. Yeah. And we hope everybody else comes back for another ABQ Accent. Thank you.